I'd like to start by sharing the story of Carson King. Carson was a spectator at a college football game who could be seen in the background of a game day broadcast holding up a sign saying his Busch Light supply needed to be replenished. Conveniently, it also included his Venmo username. Viewers chuckled, decided to pitch in, and in a few hours, the story had gone viral. Carson used the money that poured in to buy 1 case of beer and then pledged to donate the rest to a local children's hospital. Anheuser-Busch and Venmo agreed to match the donation, and Carson was offered a 1-year supply of Busch Light. Within just a few weeks, a 24-year-old making a comical plea for beer money had raised roughly $3 million for charity. This is a great story, one with an unassuming hero who used an unlikely and unanticipated platform to do tremendous good. But the story doesn't end here. Social media posts that Carson made in high school containing racist content were brought to light. Anheuser-Busch and Venmo quickly distanced themselves, and then the journalist who discovered the posts lost his job after offensive social media content from his own past was revealed. Many following this story had whiplash from just trying to distinguish the hero from the villain. So I'd like to ask a few questions. Was the choice that Carson made when bestowed with a windfall a good one? Is it okay that prior to this act of extraordinary generosity, he made choices that were discriminatory and hurtful toward others? Should the hospital have declined the donation? Do one's actions in the past negate goodwill in the present? I share this story because it illustrates our basic human tendency to take complex information from our environment and break it down so it fits into simple categories. Categories like good and bad, red and blue, and hero versus villain. Thanks to social media, we now have unprecedented access to the views and daily activities of others. And this sheer amount of information can be overwhelming. When we put people into categories, we eliminate the need to think carefully about them as individuals or the unique circumstances that give rise to their choices and actions. But people are complex. The issues that matter most to us are complex. And what has evolved into a collective aversion to complexity, I would argue, is contributing to some of our growing divides. So how did we get here? I'm a social psychologist who studies how our identities shape and are shaped by our interactions with others. Drawing on this work, I'd like to share 3 insights. The first is that social media is as much about affirming and communicating our identity as it is about connecting with others. In other words, it helps us figure out and express who we are. And it's not just what we write in our social media posts, what we choose to like or dislike, who we've included in our social network, and the groups we allow ourselves to be linked to, all convey information about who we are and how we want to be viewed by others. The second insight is that identity is communicated in very simple ways on social media. Social media allows us to share our deepest and most defining beliefs, on some platforms in 280 characters or less. Our profiles state our attitudes, preferences, and life history as concrete and unambiguous facts, and we use hashtags, a string of just a few letters, to underscore our positions on complex issues. These structural characteristics of social media also contribute to the quick and intuitive judgments we make of others, which are now more than ever based on single social media posts. The third insight is that identity is about who we are, but it's also about who we are not. Parked in my driveway at this very moment is a vehicle with the license plate Duke Hater. I completed my graduate work at Duke University, and this is not a reflection of self-loathing. The proclaimed Duke Hater is my husband, a Chapel Hill native and graduate of the University of North Carolina, Duke's arch rival from 8 miles down the road. As this demonstrates, we sometimes affirm important aspects of our identity by emphasizing what it is that we are not. And this, when communicated on social media or a license plate, can facilitate the simplification of our identity and our social worlds. So how do we move forward? One way is by resisting the urge to simplify. If we can stop and think twice before unfriending an acquaintance with differing views, or canceling a celebrity whose actions or social media posts don't align with the ideals we hold them to, we can begin to open ourselves up to the complexity around us. We can challenge ourselves to stop thinking of Republicans and Democrats, or those who are wealthy and those living in poverty, as one-dimensional entities that are either entirely good or entirely bad. Instead, we can do the more difficult work of seeing others as multidimensional beings who are many things at once. We can recognize that people can and do make mistakes, but they also have a remarkable capacity to learn from them. Maintaining meaningful relationships with people who see the world in a very different way can be frustrating, uncomfortable, and at times, downright infuriating. But if we can challenge ourselves to acknowledge and maybe even embrace nuance and complexity, I think we'll be moving in the right direction. In a universe of either's and or's, let's make some room for the in-between. Thank you.